I start my day with joy. When I start my day with joy, everything I do is infused with joy. I start my day with joy. When I start my day with joy, everything I do is infused with joy. I choose joy, joy, joy. Joy, joy, joy. Every day is joy, joy, joy. I choose it, joy, joy, joy. I start my day with love. I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy, and I feel that sweet release. I start my day with love. I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy, and I feel that sweet release. I start my day with love. I start my day with joy, and I feel that sweet release.
We just needed a little more love, peace, and joy.
Yeah.
Let's share together. In our vision, centered in love, we embrace a positive path for spiritual living. And our mission, wherever we are, we provide a welcoming community that inspires and encourages all who gather here through the teaching, sharing, and practice of universal spiritual principles. We have a praying mantis in the front row. Yes, it's a pet praying mantis. Yes. So one of the ways that we practice those principles is to invite praying mantises into our sanctuary, and also to honor wherever you are on your hugging journey. So if you want to hug, we will bring it on in. If you're more comfortable with the handshake, we'll honor that. And if you want us to leave you completely alone, we totally understand. And we will honor whatever bubble you create around yourself. Have a great time. Oh, let's not.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting a message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
All righty, a couple of announcements. Our prayer chaplains today are Sherry Fries, who is in the sanctuary, and she'll be holding sacred space for us from here, and also will be available over there after the service for anyone who wants one-on-one prayer. And Charles Lee is holding space for us from home. He did have some outpatient surgery last week. He is doing fine, and he's just a little more comfortable at home this week. So we send him our love and our prayers and a big cosmic hug, and wish him well and can't wait to see him. And speaking of Charles, one of the announcements is that our next coffee house is on Saturday, September 9th, and it will feature Charles. So feel free to, we put the poster up on our Facebook page, feel free to share it with abandon and to show up here that evening. It's going to be a wonderful evening. A couple of other quick announcements, because today is our HUG meeting, which is one of the announcements. And HUG stands for Help Unity Grow, Help Us Grow, Help You All Grow. It's just a conversation. We have it monthly. It keeps us all at least in the same book, if not on the same page within the community. We talk about ideas. The council shares updates. And we do have actually a bunch of updates for you guys today. One of them is that they have offered me another 2-year contract, which I have accepted. So hopefully that's good news. Hopefully that brings happiness to everyone. And we are going to Zoom the HUG meeting. So if you're watching us online and you can't make it, Jackie will post it's the same HUG meeting Zoom that we've been using, but you can jump on to Zoom downstairs for the HUG meeting. Just 2 quick save the dates for those of you who won't be at the HUG meeting. I am off next week. Gwen will be presenting the service. And then on the 27th, we're having a Taizé service. A Taizé service, if you're not familiar with it, is all music and chants and prayers and readings. It's going to be very different. It will not be the normal order of service. You're just going to come in for an hour and you're just going to be immersed in vibration and wisdom and sound. It's going to be awesome. The entire music team is going to be involved in it in one way or another, and it's going to be just wonderful. So I hope you come for that. And then the following Sunday is the picnic, which will be at Memorial Lake. So that will be in the email with the directions for how to get to the pavilion, and that's always such a fun time to have service by the lake. It's just gorgeous. So those 2 quick save the dates, and for everything else, come to the HUG meeting. All right, Miss Valerie, would you like to read the daily word?
Whoops. The daily word for today is excitement. I am an active participating in this exciting life. Each new day, the sun rises on a world full of wonders. From the magnificence of the natural world to the many fascinating things there are to learn and the many displays of creativity that surround me. I can find so much to capture my interest and kindle my excitement. When I shrink from life, when my interest in exploration wanes, I can lose my zeal and passion. My involvement is the key. To regain my excitement, I become an active participant in life. I break out of comfortable habits and routines. I try new things and meet new people. If this is intimidating, I remind myself, God is everywhere and in everyone. As I explore, I am opening myself to more and more of the divine. As my interest grows, a bigger world awaits me. Let everything that breathes praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Psalm 156.
I am home, my family is here. I feel loved by the ones I hold so dear. And when my family needs me, I promise to be there. And when I need my family, I'm lifted up in prayer.
So this is the time of our service where we consciously enter into that attitude of prayer, of aligning body, mind, heart, spirit, and fully integrating all those aspects of ourselves. And so we take a minute to go within. And as we observe that alignment, we become curious about any aspect of ourself that doesn't seem to be aligned, that might seem to be a little out of balance, that doesn't feel fully integrated. Some aspect where we might not be demonstrating our wholeness, whether it's in our physical being, our thought processes, our feelings. Is there any place where we are not in alignment with our true self? It's important that we observe this because often this lack of alignment is a cause of a lack of ease or even dis-ease. And so we take this time to simply gently observe. Perhaps we visualize ourselves as a string of beautiful, luminous pearls. Is there any pearl that has less luster? Is there any pearl that is not in alignment with the strand? And what would it take for us to restore its glow, to restore its place in the beauty of who we are? It might be thinking a different thought, releasing a belief or an opinion that no longer serves us. It might be listening to our body. It might be an act of forgiveness or clarity. And so we take these observations into our day, into our week, gently, compassionately noticing what is ours to do to restore wholeness. And if there is anyone in this community that is suffering or struggling, we reach out to you and we share the wisdom, the courage, the strength, the resilience, the love of this community. We embrace you with the energy of this gathering. We see you healed, whole, and healthy. If there is anyone this morning who has cause for gratitude or for joy, we say, bring it on and share it with us. Spread that energy, spread that joy like glitter. Safe, biodegradable glitter. Let it spread through that golden web that we recognize connects us all, mind to mind, heart to heart, center to center. And as always, we remember that together or apart, we are always connected at the heart. And so it is. Namaste.
The God in me beholds the God in you. Namaste. The God in me beholds the God in you. Namaste. You are beautiful. You are whole. You are beautiful. You are whole. Thank you for your patience. The sun is always in the sky, although you can't always see. And so it is inside of us, if we allow it to be. Even when there's struggles, even when we cry, take a breath, remember there's no need to wonder why. For you are well, we are well, everything is well. See it all in the eyes of your mind. It flows through every cell. The light within you always shines. Just trust and you will know that you are well. We are well, and all is well. Sing your love and dance your dreams. Allow yourself to let go. Listen to the wind and watch the sky, and breathe the love, let it flow. Allow all your joy to overflow forever and ever and evermore. For you are well, we are well, and all is well. Let go of the things that trouble our minds, and remember all is well. Write these words inside of our hearts and breathe them in, and know that you are well, we are well, yes, everything in the eyes of your mind. It flows through every cell. The light within you always shines. Just trust and you will know that you are well and we are well, and all is well. Yes, all and all is well.
So that's definitely this sermon in a song, right? Part of working on our attitude is believing that all is well. Not just saying it, not just thinking it, but actually believing that all is well. And part of the reason we can believe that is because we get to make it all well with our attitude, with how we see the world, with how we see what's happening in our lives. So the title of this is Keep a Contented Heart. And it comes from a lovely quote that I'm going to read to you in just a second. But it reminded me, and the whole focusing on our attitude reminded me that, I don't know if you all remember, but my talk before we started this series, it was back the end of May, was called The Mindset of Mindset. And it was about what is our mindset. And we talked about some of the research around having a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. And I deliberately chose that topic before this summer series around happiness because it reflected one of Gretchen's rules, which is that you're only happy if you think you're happy. So if you think you're happy, if you have a mindset that you're happy, then you are. And it doesn't matter about the circumstances of your life. We have chosen to be happy. The flip side of that is, remember that the opposite of a great truth is frequently also true, that if you decide you're not happy, regardless of how great your life might be, you're not going to be happy. And so our mindset is absolutely critical to how we feel about our lives and to how we show up in our lives. So let's get into today, because this is all about attitude and keeping a contented heart. So she says, my happiness project year was almost over, and for November's resolutions, I had to make sure to cram in everything that I hadn't covered. It's kind of what you do at the end of a series, right? Okay. So fortunately, everything I had left to cover fit neatly into one category. Instead of focusing on my actions, I focused on my attitude. I wanted to cultivate a lighthearted, loving, and kind spirit. If I could put myself into that frame of mind, it would be easier to stick to all my other resolutions, this is just intuitive, right? If we're approaching everything with a good mindset, everything becomes easier. The British diarist Samuel Pepys, which is kind of a fun name, reflected from time to time on the nature of happiness. In his entry for February 23rd, 1662, he wrote, "This day, by God's mercy, I am 29 years of age, and in very good health, and like to live and get an estate, and if I have a heart to be contented, I think I may reckon myself as happy a man as any in the world, for which God be praised, so to prayers and to bed." I was struck by Pepys' inclusion of the qualifying phrase, and if I have a heart to be contented. It was easy to pass over these words without realizing their tremendous importance. No one is happy who doesn't think themselves happy. So without a heart to be contented, a person can't be happy. That's the fourth splendid truth. She goes on to say, it's easier to complain than to laugh. It's easier to yell than to joke around. It's easier to be demanding than to be satisfied. Keeping a heart to be contented, I expected, would help change my actions. I hit on several specific aspects of my attitude that I wanted to change. So, as is Gretchen's way, she got very specific. Remember, she worked very hard to have fun one of our weeks. So she says she wanted to laugh more. She wanted to be kinder, which she put into action by, she said, using good manners. She wanted to be more positive, less cranky and critical. And finally, she said, as a way to help myself stay serene and cheerful, I resolved to discipline myself to direct my thoughts away from subjects that made me angry or irritable. She found this finding a place of refuge. And then she said, in essence, this month, or for us, this week, was all about cheerfulness. So notice I was struck over and over again in this chapter about how it related to our third principle. Unity's third of our 5 foundational principles is called the law of mind action. And that says, the law of mind action says, thoughts and feelings held in mind produce after their kind. It's not new thought, it's actually very old thought. Epictetus said it, many of the great Stoic philosophers said it. Neuroscientists now confirm it, that what we think, what we believe, impacts how we see the world. So the thoughts and the feelings that we hold in mind determine how we see the world and how we experience the world. So this whole chapter is all about that phenomenon and the attitude that we take. Again, you're only happy if you think you are. So another way of looking at this, she said that one of her practices for this week, was to laugh out loud. And she said, I refer this back to my third commandment, act the way I want to feel. Act the way I want to feel. She says, if I want to feel happy and lighthearted, I need to act that way, say by laughing out loud. You might notice that the only representation we have of Jesus in this entire building is of Jesus laughing. Laughter is more than just a pleasurable activity. It can boost immunity and lower blood pressure and cortisol levels, which is good because cortisol makes us gain weight. So laugh, people, everybody. Good job. It increases people's tolerance for pain. It's a source of social bonding, and it helps to reduce conflicts and cushion social stress within relationships, at work, in marriage, and even among strangers. When people laugh together, they tend to talk and touch more, and to make eye contact more frequently. So ultimately, I thought this was funny, she realized that what she really wanted to be able to laugh at was herself, recognizing her predisposition to take everything so seriously. And this reminded me of one of our earlier practices, which is to lighten up, to recognize the power of taking life more lightly and taking ourselves more lightly. And she referred a couple of times in this chapter to that G.K. Chesterton quote that we looked at that week that says, it's easy to be heavy, it's hard to be light. It's easy to complain, might take a little more effort to find something positive to say, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so then this focus on being cheerful also led her to be more positive, right? We have positive twice in our vision and our values. It's in our vision. It's also one of our values, to be positive. And when we're talking about being positive, and I was grateful that she approached it in the same way, we're not talking about that toxic positivity, right? I love that term. But it's important to recognize the difference between truly looking for the good, right? Looking for the good, looking for what can be celebrated, looking for something positive, and ignoring what's actually happening in physical reality. We don't want to ignore, we don't want to pretend that something is happening. We do want to look for, is there a gift in here somewhere? Is there something positive in here? But we don't ignore what's happening. That's where the toxic part comes in. And unfortunately, we've been guilty of that in New Thought. Well, I forget I have this thing on. If I don't look at it, it's not really there, right? That's not what we're talking about. We are saying, yep, stuff happens. There's stuff happening in the world that can feel overwhelming and upsetting and disturbs the calm peace of our soul. We get that. And what good can come out of this? What good is out there? There is so much good in the world if we're willing to look for it. If we don't let ourselves become overwhelmed by what we perceive to be negative. So she talked about being more positive, being more considerate of others, having good manners. And this was something interesting too. She said she recognized that it was easier for her to be more positive when she had taken good care of herself, right? When she was tired or hungry or distracted or hadn't been eating right or whatever, she was much more predisposed to be cranky. Can anyone relate? Right? It reminded me of that practice that I sometimes recommend called HALT. If we find ourselves being reactive, well, first of all, breathe. Breathing is really underrated, right? Breathe. Take a breath. In fact, if possible, take 3 deep breaths. Just that act helps to shift the chemicals in our brain. And then ask yourself, am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Do I need to talk to someone? Or am I tired? And if you can answer yes to any more than one of those, zip it until you can take care of yourself and get yourself in a place where you can respond. So it was very interesting. She said that she recognized that being too tired, too cold, too hot, or having a full bladder made it very difficult to be cheerful. I think we can all relate to that. It also reminded me of the work that we do in Gary Simmons' Eye of the Storm, right? And most of you have taken that, and if you haven't, I offer it every year. But one of the observations that Gary makes is that all the conditions for a storm are always present, but they have to come together in a very specific way to make the hurricane. Like we always have barometric pressure, we always have temperature, we always have wind, we always have all of those science-y things that meteorologists talk about. But unless they come together in a very specific way, there is no storm. They all have to converge at just the right time, in just the right conditions to make the hurricane. And I think sometimes we use that analogy, you know, when I was working with churches in conflict, I would use that analogy to say, you know, all the conditions for conflict were always here. What happened that they all came together and created the storm? What happened? And that would help us to get to the heart of what was happening. And it's the same when we find ourselves being reactive. You know, if we have, you know, have all the right conditions to blow, right? It's going to happen if they all converge. So we want to take care of ourselves. And we also want to do our inner work. If we find that even after we've taken care of hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, we're still really prone to try to figure out who's the matter with me, that's when we do that inner work and ask ourselves, what's up? What's going on that I can't say a positive thing about this person or this situation? What's going on that I'm so quick to criticize or to judge? Right? What's going on? Entering into that place of curiosity. So, in fact, let me share what she has to say. She said, my focus on attitude illustrated my affinity to be really critical. I love how she talks about herself. So she calls this one giving positive reviews. She said, I wanted to laugh more, I wanted to show more loving kindness, and I also wanted to be more enthusiastic. I knew that it wasn't nice to criticize, but it was fun. I can tell you relate. Why was it so deliciously satisfying to criticize? Being critical made me feel more sophisticated and intelligent. And in fact, studies show that people who are critical are often perceived to be more discerning. In one study, for example, people judged the writers of negative book reviews as more expert and competent than the writers of positive reviews, even when the content of both reviews was deemed to be of high quality. Another study showed that people tend to think that someone who criticizes them is smarter than they are. Being critical has its advantages, and what's more, it's much easier to be hard to please. Although enthusiasm seems easy and undiscriminating, in fact, it's much harder to embrace something than to disdain it. It's riskier. When I examine my reactions to other people, I realize that I do often view people who make critical remarks as more perceptive and more discriminating. At the same time, though, it's hard to find pleasure in the company of someone who finds nothing pleasing. I prefer the company of more enthusiastic types who seem less judgmental, more vital, and more fun. I wanted to embrace this kind of zest. I steeled myself to stop making certain kinds of unnecessarily negative statements. She would say, I really don't feel like going. That food was too rich. There's nothing worth reading in the paper, from an author. Instead, I tried to look for ways to be sincerely enthusiastic. And here's where I think it gets interesting. Giving positive reviews requires humility. I have to admit, I missed the feelings of superiority that I got from using puncturing humor, sarcasm, ironic asides, cynical comments, and cutting remarks. A willingness to be pleased requires modesty and even innocence, easy to deride as mawkish and sentimental. She said, for the first time, I appreciated the people I knew who were unfailingly ready to be pleased. A prayer attributed to St. Augustine of Hippo includes the line, shield your joyous ones. He says, tend your sick ones, O Lord Jesus Christ. Rest your weary ones. Bless your dying ones. Soothe your suffering ones. Pity your afflicted ones. Shield your joyous ones. And all for your love's sake. At first, it struck me as odd that among prayers for the dying and suffering is a prayer for the joyous. Why worry about the joyous ones? Once I started trying to give positive reviews, though, I began to understand how much happiness I took from the joyous ones in my life, and how much effort it must take for them to be consistently good-tempered and positive. It is easy to be heavy, hard to be light. We non-joyous types suck energy and cheer from the joyous ones. We rely on them to buoy us with their good spirit and to cushion our agitation and anxiety. At the same time, because of a dark element in human nature, we're sometimes provoked to try to shake the enthusiastic, cheery folk out of their fog of illusion, to make them see that the play was stupid, their money was wasted, the meeting was pointless. Instead of shielding their joy, we blast it. Why is this? I have no idea. But that impulse is there. This resolution reminded me that the joy of the joyous ones wasn't inexhaustible or unconquerable. I started to make a real effort to use my good cheer to support the joyous ones I knew. Protect the joyous ones. So I thought this practice was particularly important for that, to embrace a positive path for spiritual living. Think about it. Given how easy it is to be heavy, that's a pretty lofty vision, right? To go through our days finding something positive, to wake up every morning and say, this is going to be a great day, and then making it so. So her final practice was what she called finding an area of refuge. And at first I thought that she was talking about like a physical location, like, creating a little meditation closet or something. But then as I was reading it, I realized that what she was talking about, and this again goes back to our third principle, was finding a mental area of refuge. So when we recognize that we're ruminating or that we're focusing on the negative, which is, by the way, our bias, right? Our brains evolutionarily developed to focus on the negative to keep us safe from saber-toothed tigers, right? There are no more saber-toothed tigers. She made a list of positive things that she could focus on when she realized she was obsessing about something negative or when she was tempted to be critical. And she found that her area of refuge. She would focus on that. She would literally change her mind. Thoughts and feelings held in mind produce after their kind. She found a place of refuge in a happy memory or something that made her feel good. So make a list of things that make you feel good and be willing to shift your attention to that. We all know, we know in our heads that where our attention goes, our energy flows. So how do we finish that? Where our energy flows, grows. So what do we want to grow in our lives? I'd like to grow a contented heart. Contented, to be happy and at ease. So are we willing to be contented? Are we willing to be happy? Remember, I asked you that question 11 weeks ago and said, this summer, are you willing to be happy? Are you willing to do the practices to change your mind about happiness, recognizing, remembering that happy people, as Gretchen has observed, are a lot more fun to be around. We're also more productive, more generous, more creative, more loving. Are we willing to be happy in a world that really needs happy people? Are we willing to put the energy into being light, knowing that it takes more energy? It was interesting. I saw a brief piece, and I'll go back and I'll find you the guy's name, and I apologize that I don't have it. But he's one of the leaders of one of the big evangelical conferences. And he came out, I think it was on Friday, in an op-ed piece and in an interview, and he said that he was really just shaken to his core one Sunday because he was giving a sermon on the Sermon on the Mount. Remember, blessed are the meek, right? And he said afterwards he was approached by a very angry group of congregants and said, "When did you get woke?" And he said, "What are you talking about?" "Well, what were you preaching today?" And he said, "I was preaching Jesus' Sermon on the Mount." And they looked at him and he said, "Well, that doesn't work anymore. Jesus was weak." It takes so much strength and courage and resolve to do what Jesus taught. Jesus was the opposite of weak. He was so strong, they killed him. His message was subversive in that he told us to love everyone. It takes a lot of energy to love everyone. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of resolve and a lot of shadow work to sit down with people and share a meal with those who believe the complete opposite of what you believe, and still be able to love them like Jesus told us to. Jesus was so strong and courageous and wise. It is easy to be heavy. It's easy to figure out everything that's wrong with the world. It takes real courage and strength to figure out what's right. It takes courage to be happy and to want to spread happiness. And it takes strength, and it takes resolve, and it takes a community. Let's be that community. Amen. Amen. All right, let's take that into meditation.
We can change the world one heart at a time. We can change the world one heart at a time. I see you, I know you, you're a part of me. We can change the world one heart at a time. We can change the world one heart at a time. I see you, I know you, you're a part of me. My heart is open to love. My heart is ready to love you. You can change the world one heart at a time. I can change the world one heart at a time. I see you, I know you, you're a part of me. We can change the world. One heart at a time.
So let's take a nice, big, deep breath together. as we recognize that we all share the same air. We share the same love. Our energy impacts one another. And so we ask ourselves as individuals and a community, what change are we making in the world? Are we contributing to the despair? Or are we bringing a contented heart? A sense of all is well? A cheerful, positive disposition? What difference are we making? What are we creating with our thoughts, our words, our attitude, and our actions? We can change the world one heart at a time. And the first heart that needs to change is ours. And so we go deep within. And we ask ourselves so gently and with great compassion, am I willing to be happy? And am I willing to take that happiness into the world? Seeing, loving, impacting, changing, one heart at a time.
We can change the world, one heart at a time. We can change the world, one heart at a time. We can change the world.
Beautiful. So the kids are itching to come in. Why don't we let them come in and enjoy the closing song? Why don't you guys come in and then you can enjoy the closing song, okay? You can have a seat up here. Is that the praying mantis? Well, it's better than the snake that she wanted earlier, so, all right. So this is the time of our service where we say thank you so much for your continued generosity, for your giving of your time, your talent, and your treasure to the very important work of this community. I think we can all acknowledge that where we live, that is important. Yes? Yeah. All right, a little more enthusiastically. Yes? Yeah. Okay, good. Yes, thank you. So we no longer pass the basket. We got rid of that. If you have something in paper you want to contribute, there's a basket in the back of the room. And also, if you did not get your Blue Bird of Happiness, make sure that you get that. You can also donate electronically, whatever. We're just thrilled for whatever you contribute. And speaking of contributing, everybody check out the table. This is the last Sunday of the Happiness Project. So if you did donate something that you would like to take back, let's do that. But before that happens, can someone take a picture of this after the service? And then we can share it in the weekly email. All right? So we'll have our closing song. and then you guys can share what you learned, okay? Oh, is that Manta's listening too? Okay, all right. All right, have a seat. You want me to sit with you? And we'll listen to the pretty song? Okay, all right. And then you guys can tell us what you learned today, all right? Okay. Okay, Miss Janie. Yeah, that's more good.
There is a secret I should keep, and someone wants to know. What will I choose to do? Will whispered words so small and thin turn into feathers in the wind? It may or may not be true. Or broken promises to friends leave me lonely in the end? Or am I loved and trusted well? Because of stories I don't tell, laugh or cry, live on in this life I'm going through every day. Another fork in the road that will take me somewhere new, and every step I take makes me the person I will be. I have dreams in my heart, and I try to hear their voices when I make my choices. There is a child who needs my time to read a story, sing a rhyme. What will I choose to do? And every day I run around, I hardly have the chance to just sit down. What is he going through? Will the boy become a man who will wonder if I understand who he is and what he needs? So much of this is up to me. Laugh or cry, quit or try, in this life I'm going through every day. Another fork in the road that takes me somewhere new, and every step I make, it's the person I will be. I have dreams in my heart, and I try to hear their voices when I make my choices. Everywhere I choose to go touches someone I don't even know, just like waves in the sand that finally touch the shore. And every chance I choose to take is another way my heart could break, but I can't stand still anymore. Laugh or cry, quit or try, in this life I'm going through every day. Another fork in the road that will take me somewhere new, and every step makes me the person I will be. I have dreams in my heart, and I try to hear their voices when I make my choices. I have dreams in my heart, and I try to hear their voices when I make my choices.
Fell in love with it, and we can't find who wrote it. We did research, and it just kept saying source unknown. So if anybody can find who wrote that song, we'd love to give them credit, because it's just gorgeous. So Collective hive mind. Find who wrote this song and let us know. Okay, so what did you guys do today?
We colored this.
Okay.
Decorated this.
What does it say?
It says, I am thankful for the
Bounty
bounty
of the universe. Yep. Awesome. So did you put any more colors into your rainbow?
purple.
Purple? You put purple into your rainbow? What does the rainbow symbolize? Happiness? That's good. How about thankfulness, Bridget?
Mine is like a flamingo theme because my sister's birthday party is coming up and her theme is flamingo, so I wanted to hang this up for her.
Aw.
And I put a heart around the four because, well, for love is basically like this community.
Aw. So for love is basically this community. Yeah. That's awesome. Boys, let me see what you did.
We decorated our thankful.
Yep, and to be thankful. Oh, and that's very colorful. Yeah, let's take the praying mantis off of Reverend Stephanie. There we go. Okay. I'm good. It's all good. Everything is good. What else, boys?
Mr. Dale.
You colored? Yep.
Okay.
And the other reason that we love the rainbow is because the rainbows incorporate all the colors in the spectrum. And what that symbolizes for us is that all the colors are important, the diversity is important, including all the colors is important. So the rainbow basically signifies that we love everyone and everything exactly as they are, in all of their beauty and color and gifts and talents. And it's what basically defines this community, is that gorgeous rainbow. What do you think, grown-ups? Good? All right. All right, so let's all share in our unity blessing. Grown-ups, you know how we do this? All right, so kids, what you do is you just raise your hand so you catch the blessing, okay? You don't have to say anything, I promise. All right, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in each and every one of you. Yes, we do. All right, you can go to your parents and we will sing the peace song. Good job.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And wherever God is, all is well. Just like your beautiful song. Janie wrote that song. Isn't that wonderful? So join us downstairs for fellowship and our hug meeting. Go forth and be happy with a contented heart. I love you. Have a great week. Bye-bye, YouTube and Facebook friends. We love you. Alrighty. Okay, let's let Miss